Right the folk, welcome back to another video beer review. Today we've got a beer coming out of Track, and it is their Auburn Manchester Brown Ale, coming in at 4.8% ABV. That's another one of the series they did before Christmas last year, or before the end of last year, where they do a collaboration between themselves and a hop merchant. This one again is Manchester Hop Project, but we have a brown ale, and I love brown ale. You don't see them very often. I actually had one on cast this evening, which was from oh God's sake, Nottingham Ales, Nottingham Brewery. It was a honey brown ale or honey nutty brown ale. Nottingham brown, whatever the fucking thing was called. It was all right. The big problem with it was that it was 3.4%, and I didn't see that until very much the last minute. But until he was on like the third or fourth final pull, I was like, that's a fucking weak ale. And I was expecting something, because typically what Pitchfork, or basically a Nottingham owned Cotley, Pitchfork Ale and a couple of other breweries, and I was expecting like a classic traditional big old ABV dropper. No, not big old ABV, but a classic ABV rather than this new fucking 3.4% bullshit. Which I know I've had to fucking fall down that line as well. But if you do something like a summer pale ale, it's fine. If you do fucking brown ale, and don't put any weight or any oats or anything that you'd really want in that sort of beer, it fucking falls a little bit by the wayside. The flavours, some of the flavours were there, but it was all a bit, yeah. So hopefully we'll get that in this. But of course, it's been out of the fridge for about an hour now, so I tend to prefer this beer a little bit warmer, but it is what it is. So, Auburn Manchester Brown Ale. Hops are fresh hop Prima Donna, Fuggles, Magnum and Phoenix. I'm highly aroused by two of them, Fuggles and Magnum. Phoenix I know less so. Prima Donna I think I've tried in one beer before, and also I think out of this series that they've done. I don't know if Track have updated this series by bringing any more hop collabs out. I don't know if they have, but nice to see them do it. 4.8%, like I say. A brown ale as part of our Harvest Festival, celebrating green hopped beers. So maybe it was actually just done around the Harvest Festival when they released all these beers. But yeah, so celebrating green hop beers, brewed with fresh hop Prima Donna, Fuggles, Magnum and Phoenix, handpicked and donated by Manchester Hop Project. I don't know if that means that fresh hop Prima Donna is the only fresh hop in that, and then the rest are ones they have anyway. But yeah, contains barley, no wheat, no yeast, and no fucking water. In fact, it does say above it. Ingredients: barley, hops, yeast, water, and then it says again that beneath it contains barley. Don't know why the fuck you do that. Very odd, but yeah, Brewers Cut, a series encapsulated in unique hop processes and contexts. That's before 14th of April 2025. I think I've got two other cans left in this series. The mild, which I almost had this evening, and then I realised, oh, it's a mild, I don't want to have that this evening. I might have that next week, before I go to Cornwallian. And I think there's one other somewhere. It's either in that fridge or the other one, but yeah. Unless I've already had it, I can't remember. I think the second out of the series I had was really nice. But yeah. This one and the mild are proper up my street though. So I know Track can do brown ales really well anyway. Like American Brown Ale when they do Cowboy Town. I would say this is a touch dark for a brown ale. Just a touch dark. Looked nice pouring it out. Obviously it's unfined. Maybe. No, it's okay actually. I was wrong. It's actually okay. When you hold it up to the light, it's okay. It is maybe a shade dark, but it does have a relative kind of like ruby, brownie hint sort of thing. Nose is nice. Nose is different. If I actually get rather than try to sniff here, just try and get the glass. Okay. Chicken cooking in the background. It's a nice combination. So, oh yeah, smells good. That smells really nice. There's a lovely blend of you know, darker malts, fruitiness, with a light herbal. I think that's. Did I read Magnum or was I going mental? Yeah, Magnum. I've used Magnum for years in typically lagers. I've used them in pales maybe about 6 or 7 years ago. But yeah, it smells good. We'll dive in. Cheers. Yeah, that's one of those. That's what I would have wanted earlier on fucking cask. Yeah. Okay, the hops are a little bit. You know, I suppose it is a hop showcase, but I'd like to see a malt showcase. I'd like to see a new brewery do a malt showcase, because like I've said many a time, I think a lot of newer breweries or more modern breweries seem to just fucking not care about the malts they put in. They just care about the hops. But the malts on this are bloody good. Carbonation pretty gentle. Could probably be doing with it being a touch lower. There's some lovely, really nice licoricey sort of notes inside of that, which I wasn't expecting. 100%. I'd like a little touch. I think the yeast is a bit clean. I'd like a little touch more fruitiness in it. But it's pretty bloody good, you know. It's pretty. I think this is almost my favourite out of the series so far. So you're getting licorice, caramel, bit of a toffee note, but mainly a kind of licoricey, muscovado, sugar, molasses sort of note. There's almost elements as well of like Bovril. That's what we want. Bovril, a pint of Bovril, please. Meat ale is what we want. The world needs meat ale. For the Bovril, Vault City Bovril collab, that needs to happen. Jesus, imagine, no, beef sour. Create something horrific in that. No, I just want a Bovril mild. I want a Bovril mild. I'm gonna make it happen. The world needs Bovril mild. It'd be fucking delicious. A Bovril and Banks's collab. Is that what the next track I have? I'll probably have it tomorrow. Is that going to be a Bovril? Am I going to buy some Bovril tomorrow and blend it with some mild? No, that'd be a fucking waste of that. I'd probably do it with Banks's if I could still buy it. I digress massively away from talking about the hops in this and actually what they do. So let's go for another sip. Sippy boo. And on the nose, I was picking out the Magnum, and again, through that licoricey sort of note, you pick out the little. I always find that Fuggles is a little bit earthy, a little bit floral, and a little bit bready almost. It's a bready hop, which is hard to kind of think about. And then you get the nice herbal notes of the Magnum. The Phoenix, I couldn't tell you what that gives, and the fresh hop Prima Donna. I've said this many a time, I think using green hops is such a waste of hops. I remember having a conversation actually with one of the chaps from Brookhouse, which is a now defunct hop merchant. In fact, glass of water here. Brookhouse hops. I remember them saying, this wasn't. I didn't know that they were in financial trouble at the time, but it said to me. They were basically looking to create, as they called it, it was just something like Eco Hops or something like that. Fucking, but basically it was non-kilned hops, or partially killed or something like that. And it was basically, yeah, it's more eco-friendly. Yeah, it's more eco-friendly because you're not fucking doing half the job. You're not doing half of the process. And no wonder that didn't take off. They were trying to really push it on the. It wasn't the hop walk that we went on. It was something like that I went to a couple of months later. They were trying to really push this fucking, it wasn't called fresh hops. I can't remember what it's called now. But they were trying to push non-kilned because it's eco-friendly. No, we haven't kilned this. Yeah, so you haven't done what I'm asking you to do to actually generate the alpha acids. And I said to him, and I remember one of the chaps came around the brewery afterwards, and he also, I spoke to him a couple of months later because he was looking for some work. He knew that I worked with a distillery and stuff like that. But he was basically trying to sell, I forget the chap's name now, trying to sell hops that weren't fully processed, and I probably should have read between the lines at the time. That was because the business was going up the Swanee sort of thing. And I had a contract with him, but I'd already, thank fuck, used it all up. And we were talking about maybe either staying with him or going back to Firearms or what I was going to do. And I did go back to Firearms, but that wasn't because I had any negative experience with him. I was really happy with them, with Brookhouse. I thought they were, for me, actually better than working with Firearms at that time. I've since got a great relationship with the chaps like Rich and Dan at Firearms. So yeah, I think is it Holly as well? Molly, I think I speak to quite regularly as well. Yeah, they were yeah, they were. There was a reason why I had to go back to Firearms, but otherwise I would have gone back to Brookhouse. But there was a reason. It was to do with what I had already outstanding and some other stuff. So, but no, I remember them trying to push these fucking fresh hops, and I remember, years before that, I've gone massively off piece. I do apologise. I do remember years before that, we did a green hop beer, and the amount of hops we put in. And it's on the brew kit, main Ramsey brew kit. We did a 20 barrel batch of beer, and the amount of hops we put in was probably about 120 kilos of wet hops, and the amount of issues that caused us on transfer because we didn't know what the alpha was. And obviously you kind of tend to have to divide by 5 because the amount of acids that you are losing out on, which is kind of coming back to the point I was trying to make from using wet hops, is it doesn't really do anything. We had to use 5 times the amount of hops, and then as a result you had way more wastage because a lot more was soaked up into the whole cone hops that you're using. So I don't know whether on this they've used, I wouldn't expect they've used pelletized whole cone hops, because as much as that does exist, it is a bit more. It doesn't happen in the UK. I've only ever seen it in the US. So like wet hops, but pelletized format. I've only ever seen it in the UK, in the US. Sorry, but yeah.